Hello friends, welcome to Developing on AWS. My name is Tapas and in this video we are going to talk about Amazon SDK and S3 service. That means we are going to access the S3 service using Amazon SDK and perform some operations. So before, we have already seen in our previous video how to set up the SDK and how to connect to the services using SDK. So if you have not yet seen that video, please go ahead and first watch that video, then you come to this one, then only you will be able to follow me. Okay, so in this video we are going to do all these operations, which is listing all the available buckets in S3, then reading content from the bucket, then creating new bucket in S3, then uploading content to the bucket, deleting item from bucket and deleting the bucket itself from S3. Okay, so let's get started then. So this is my Amazon console, and here if you see we have, let's go to our bucket page. Okay, so this is the S3 service, and here we have three buckets which are there in three different regions. Yesterday we have seen in our video, we have used this bucket, we tried to connect to this one, right? I think we tried to list all the buckets. We did not connect to this one, we tried to list all the buckets. Okay, so let's go ahead, and what we'll be doing is today I have already uploaded one file to this bucket, this user.txt. So we are going to read this file which is already there in this bucket, then modify the item something, we'll just modify it, then create another bucket like destination bucket or something like that, and then put this modified file to that bucket. Then we'll see how to delete that item and then how to delete the bucket itself. Okay, so this is the whole thing we are going to do in this video. Okay, there are other things are also there, but time won't permit. Let's say uh, it would be too much to put it inside one video. Okay, so let's get started then. That day we have already seen. Okay, so let me do one thing. We'll first run this, which we already. First of all, you can create one S3 client using the default API, which is the first approach, which is going to take the credential from the .aws directory, and second approach is you can specify the access key ID and secret key here in your program itself. And when you are going to use this approach, if you are working on multiple accounts, okay, if you are working on single account, you can use this one. So once this S3 client is created, then you can just call s3.listBuckets, which is going to return list of buckets, and then using for each we are just iterating it, displaying the bucket.getBucketName, owner, who is, and the bucket creation date. These are all simple bucket.getName, getOwner.getDisplayName, and getCreation date. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so this is Spring Boot application. So guys, one more thing is it is not mandatory that you need to use the Spring Boot application in order to work with AWS. Okay, you can have any Java project and there you can specify the dependency, AWS dependency, which is nothing but one Maven dependency, and you can just have that dependency in your project and you can get started. I have just created Spring Boot application, and because going forward we'll be using it, maybe some REST controller we'll create and we'll see how any web application. So nowadays Spring Boot is it's very easier to start, and there are very less configuration we need to do. That's why I chose this one. Okay, but it's up to your choice. You can go ahead with simple Java application as well. Okay. Okay then. So now let's, as we discussed, all listing we have already seen. Now we just need to read this user.txt. Okay. So what we'll be doing for that? Let's do one thing. First of all, let's declare one bucket name, which is our source bucket name. Then this is the listing part. Now getting content from the bucket, right? Okay, so once this object got created, right? We have this S3 client object got created, then S3 dot get object. Here you can specify this bucket name. Okay, this is the bucket name, and in this bucket, which file or which document or which content item you are going to access, that name you are going to specify. And this is going to return one type, which is S3 object. Okay, so once this S3 object we have, then using this S3 object, object.get object content once we call, right, it is going to return us S3 object input stream, which is nothing but one subtype of input stream. And in your regular project, whenever you use any binary file or any document, always you use input stream. Okay, so let's import that one. So once that is done, then I hope you guys already know about these things, like whenever reading any JSON file or something, right, you just need to use ObjectMapper, then ObjectMapper dot read values. I have already created one user, demo user class, which will have first name, last name, and location. Because in order to map that JSON, right, we need to have that object model in our project, or else how ObjectMapper will be able to map it. Okay, so basically, first of all, we got the input stream, then we created one ObjectMapper, then mapper.readValue we are doing, and we are specifying that this is one JSON file and the mapping is with demo user. Then let's do one thing, let's use logger. Okay, let's see what is. Okay, we need to call user.toString then. Okay, so now it should be able to print our content of that JSON file, right? Let's do one thing. I think here only we can specify content of the user JSON file. Okay, now let's save it and first run it, and let's see whether we are able to get that content or not. Okay, so if you go here, first name is Tapas Joshi, then location is Hyderabad. Okay, let's see whether it is able to get those details or not. Okay, printing bucket details, the content of the user JSON file. If you see here, we have given content of the user JSON file, right? And as because we have overridden the toString method, it is printing first name and this. Okay, so now getting content from the bucket is done. So what is our next part? As we discussed, our next part is creating a new bucket. Okay, so creating a new bucket is always, it's very easy. Okay, so source bucket name, let's specify this as destination bucket name. Let's give destination bucket 9987, because if already there, this is global, right, bucket name. So if you will specify some destination bucket, it might be already there with someone, so we might face issues. That's why I'm giving destination bucket. Okay, so what we'll be doing is, once this is done, then we can call s3 dot create bucket and destination bucket name. It's very simple, creating bucket. And now let's run this. Okay. So meanwhile, if it is, excuse me. Okay. Now go back to our S3. Then here we can just reload it. If you see, destination bucket 9987 got created. If you see here this region came US East Ohio by default, but we did not specify anything while creating the bucket. We just mentioned that s3.create bucket and that bucket name. But how come that got created in our that region, US East 2 region? How come? Because if you remember in our .aws directory there is one config file, and there we have mentioned region is US East 2. So as our client is getting created from there, by default it is creating in that region. We don't need to specify that manually. Okay, so creating bucket is done now. Once creating bucket is done, then our next target is uploading content to the bucket. Okay, so let's do one thing as we discussed earlier, because in our real life scenario also, what will happen? Let's say someone else will upload some JSON file to one bucket. Then what we can do, let's say scenario is we need to process that file. Okay, so what we can do, we can use some subscriber things like one simple notification thing or queue service, using which we will be notified. Okay, and this JSON, once this JSON is uploaded to this bucket, automatically one subscriber will be there, and that time automatically what it will do, it will process this file and it is going to perform some operations. So it is something like that. So we have not yet reached to SNS, which is nothing but simple notification service. So that's why we are not discussing. So once we reach to the stage, maybe we can again discuss on that. Okay, so let's do one thing. We'll read this JSON, we'll change the content, and we'll put that in another bucket, which is nothing but this destination bucket. Okay, so already we have done this. Let's do one thing. After reading it, here only we can do one thing. So before that we need to create the bucket, right? So let me do one thing. Let me put it here only. Then user.set first name, let's change it to Alex. Toddler. Then user.set location will provide, let's say USA, whatever it is, fine. So once this is done, now we have modified the content. Then now next part is we need to create that file, right? So what we'll be doing here is one file we need to create. Okay, then let me copy it so that we can save some time. Okay. So now what we did, we modified the content, then created one file test.txt, and we are going to write this user to that file, and s3.put object, this is nothing but the API to put it to the destination bucket name. Okay, so to put it into the destination bucket, we just need to specify the bucket name. Then what is the key for that one? The key will be test.txt, and then this is the file. This name and this name, it is not mandatory. Okay, you can give some other name as well. So once this is done, it will be uploaded to destination bucket. Okay, let's go ahead and run this and see. We should be, once this is done, we should be able to see one file inside this bucket, right? I think it is not yet completed, still going on. Okay, yes. So this is good thing that we have specified. We we did run it again and we hit this issue. Okay, what it says is already you have some bucket in the name of destination object, destination bucket 9987. Then why? So second time when I ran it, at that time it is trying to create again in that name, so it is not allowing us. So what we can do in that case, we can specify if s3 dot does bucket exist, destination bucket name, think this is deprecated, it is saying, so let's try to use some other. S3 dot does bucket exist version 2, this might be the latest one. Okay, so let's use that. So if it exists, if it doesn't exist, then only go for this bucket creation, or else not. So always it is safe to write like this. Okay, so now let's run it. Run a Java application. Now it should create that bucket. It shouldn't create because it is already created, and it should go ahead and put that file inside this bucket. Okay, let's see. See, while listing that bucket itself, we got that name. Let's go ahead and just refresh this one. Here you go. You see, test.txt is already. We need to make it public. Then only if you'll click on this one, then only you'll be able to see. If you see here, we copied from here, then we modified that and we updated here, right? So now let's like modifying and creating one bucket and putting one item into that bucket. So this is also done. Next target is deleting item from one bucket. So that is also simple. Now let's do one thing. Already we have done this part. So next we do, let's s3 dot delete object. Okay, and same thing, bucket name you have to specify, destination bucket, and then you can specify the key. What is the key in this case? Key is test.txt. This key whatever we have specified, right? It should be the, let's see whether it is able to delete that or not. Now we have commented this line, so it is not going to create another file there, or it is not going to override that file. We are just going to see whether it is able to delete that or not. Okay, so let's go back to this bucket. See, once we refreshed, now it is gone. That means it was successfully able to delete that bucket. Okay, now everything is done, and our last part is how to delete the bucket itself. Okay, so now this is also done. Our next part is s3 dot delete bucket. Delete bucket also, it's very simple API. Just call s3 dot delete bucket and provide the bucket name, and this should be able to take care of deleting the bucket. Basically, whenever you use any storage services or any storage server you use in your project, always what you need is creating one folder in that storage, then putting files, downloading file, reading files, uploading files, and deleting folders. That's all, right? So in Amazon storage also, they have provided very nice API. If you see, this code is very clean, and we have performed all those operations. But if you see when we use for any normal storage service or normal file system, there it is like we need to write boilerplate code, right? And that is even those are blocking resources, right? Here it is unblocking, non-blocking resources. Okay. Now that bucket is gone, correct? So we have seen all those operations. There are different other things also there, like how to encrypt it and upload it, and there are many other things which you can set, and from SDK we can do that, but these are the minimum operations which is enough to get started. So that's why I covered all those things. If you are interested in any other topic, you can always on an S3, if you are interested in any other area, you can just post here in my channel, and definitely I'm going to uh, create a video on that, or I can post you directly those links or those instructions. Okay, so guys, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do that so that you'll get notified for the next video, and we can continue. And there are lots of things. Just now we started with S3. We have EC2, Lambda, SQS, SNS, then DynamoDB, RDS, all those things we have, which are very much interesting. So please do subscribe so that you will get notified. Thanks for watching the video.